Your name was Asana Tide. It's time to set you free.
Time. Oh, it is time. It's your boy Rashad. It's time to get into Jedi Survivor. I've been meaning to do this review for a hot little minute. I was actually beating the game, gathering the files, and getting it ready. So I go ahead and complete this and have this discussion with y'all about the game in detail. Full spoilers. Everything's gonna be on display in this bit. So get ready. Look, if you like unapologetic reviews that are brutally honest, regardless of what anybody thinks, no reviews have influenced me. I ain't watched nothing. It's all me, baby. If you like that sort of stuff, go ahead, like and subscribe to the channel. Plenty more where that came from, baby. So let's get into it. You begin your journey right where you left off with Cal Kestis, a Jedi from the, well, Fallen Order from the first game. He's apparently stronger than ever as he completely obliterates the Ninth Sister. You keep basically all your moves learned from the original game, which is a nice touch. You eventually reunite with pretty much everyone from the first game, including Marin, the love interest. Then there's a new guy, Bode, and you can't spell foreboding without Bode. Nothing suspicious to see here about the one guy who mysteriously wasn't killed alongside all his other brethren at the beginning of the game. He just survives for no reason, apparently.
Looks like I made the cut, huh, BD?
Let's get into the overall story.
You're not supposed to be here. Release me. Please.
Cal is basically trying to take on the Empire pretty much by his dang self and is struggling because, well, he's a one-man army. He's just one guy, and the Empire's got a lot of people, okay? They got a lot of ninjas. Everyone he partners with gets freaking bodied at the beginning of the game. Basically, it's hopeless for Cal to win this. But he hears of a story about a land called Tanalorr, a Jedi refuge of legend, and decides to basically just go there with other Jedi, essentially escaping from the Empire. Problem is, another Jedi of the past, Dagan Gera, already knew of and visited Tanalorr and basically turned to the dark side after he and other Jedi disagreed with bringing all the Jedi to Tanalorr. It's something like that. Solution? Kill all Jedi who oppose him.
It was my discovery, my home, and they just expected me to throw it away.
That wretched order will rue the day they betrayed me and forsook Tanalorr.
So I wasn't really a fan of this story because it's basically already been done. Like, if you know the story with Anakin in the Star Wars movies, it's sort of similar to that, except obviously not as detailed because this was just a game where they had little snippets and flashbacks of Dagan's story. There wasn't really a whole lot of Dagan current, present day alongside Cal, so there's a lot of stuff like you gotta kind of retroactively go back and see, and I kind of don't really like it when they do that too much. They did it in the first game, but I feel like it was done better in that game. I feel like the story's kind of played out. Jedi goes rogue after not getting his way. The second sister story from the original was much more interesting to me, and the motivation behind the character just made a lot more sense. Dagan was just a kind of stereotypical anime villain to me, and I guarantee that he's not gonna go in anyone's best Star Wars villain of all time list.
You are a failure.
By now, I've already edited in a bunch of footage from the game, so it's about the same as the original in terms of graphical quality. There's nothing really too insane until you basically get to the very end of the game where they really go all out. But there's really nothing to complain about graphically, I suppose. I was playing on PS5, so I didn't have any issues or notable graphical glitches or anything.
Let's speed up.
Let's get into the meat and potatoes and talk about the gameplay. This is where there's the biggest highs and lows of the game. So in this game, the first planet that you go to after the incredibly long intro sequence is a very expansive planet. It took forever to traverse this place, and it always felt like the percentage of completion, which is displayed on the screen, was always pretty freaking low for hours of gameplay. So you felt like, wow, I'm really not getting anywhere. This planet must be freaking humongous. So this, depending on the type of game you are, could be a good or bad thing. For me, it's bad because it can sometimes feel aimless and unrewarding. For example, you'll travel across the map and get some new colors for your lightsaber hilt, which is hardly even noticeable during gameplay. It's just kind of a silly reward for them to have so freaking much of that. Or you'll get some new colors for BD or something. Like, seriously, who cares about colors for BD that freaking much? Like, I felt like they should have had more outfits and costumes and stuff. I like the somewhat open yet linear structure of the original a little bit more, as it felt a little bit more concise in terms of how you were navigating, while allowing you to have some level of freedom and exploration to kind of veer off to the side to find treasure chests and things like that, rather than being this wide open sandbox to get lost in with little reward most of the time. There are some nice things to find, which I'll get to later, but these things were few and far between compared to the bulk of the exploration in the game.
You're talking about the story, gameplay, characters, but you haven't mentioned a poncho. I would only agree to be in the second game if there was a poncho. Will there be a poncho in the game?
Yes, sir.
Yo, they went freaking nuts with the platforming in this game. Sometimes it feels like you're playing some sort of wonky combination of Uncharted or Crash Bandicoot or even Prince of Persia with all the cliff hanging and wall running. Similar stuff that they did in the first game, but there's even more of it here. Now, that's not a dig at the game, as for the most part the challenge here is good and fair. They also utilize a lot of force abilities pretty good, and it's fun overall. Best part of the game is the combat. Let's talk about it. It's literally the exact same mechanics as the previous game. You have a few new force abilities and 3 brand new stances. There's the dual wielding, the blaster stance, and the cross guard stance. So the dual wield stance is a welcome addition where you basically use 2 lightsabers. You take the double blade and just split it into 2, and it's 2 lightsabers now. It's quick and it's definitely my preferred method of attack, but it's very low damage. I believe the lowest of all the stances. However, you can attack and counter so freaking fast, I don't really think it even matters. Also, the force counter ability is freaking broken. Blaster stance is weird for me to use, but useful for cheesing out bosses that can't block. You basically use a lightsaber in one hand and a blaster in the other hand. Cross guard is a slow and clunky, high damaging stance. But it is trash. I saw some article that claimed it was the best against bosses. Maybe if you stance switch or something at the last second when the enemy is vulnerable, like after you break their guard or something like that, then it's useful. However, it takes so freaking long to swing even once. By the time you do that, you could just swing multiple times with a weaker weapon and take up the same amount of damage most of the time. I really don't think it's worth it, especially against aggressive opponents. You'll be trying to get one swing off and you'll just get hit, so it just makes it where you could just switch to a faster weapon and got multiple attacks off, and even if you do get hit, you still would have taken up some damage. Whereas with cross guard, you pretty much have to time it perfectly, and you're going to take so much damage yourself most of the time trying to get some hits off, it just doesn't feel like it's worth it. They also brought back the single and double blade, which are both good, just like they were in the original, with double blade perhaps being the most broken in terms of stances. It delivers the most hits, and there's a lot of attacks that just totally surround Cal to where the enemies can't even get close without getting hit in the process. So even if they attack Cal, the enemies at minimum getting damaged too most of the time. It feels like it's practically impossible to be hit when you're using the double blade unless it's enemies that have like super armor attacks or they don't stagger for whatever reason. unless you're just not paying attention and there's some unblockable moves or something like that, then it's definitely one of the best ones still. Basically all the enemies from the previous game are back, along with a couple new ones, and there's a decent amount of new enemies here. There's some robots that are so freaking cheap with a bunch of unblockable attacks that make no sense, multi-hit combos. It's freaking ridiculous. It's pretty fun as well. So like I said, the combat's definitely the best thing in the game. Cal being as clunky as he is, he has no way of escaping some of these enemies' attacks, which can be a little annoying sometimes.
Damage taken. Target hit.
They also have some randomly tough enemy slash boss encounters like the previous game, except this time is truly like fighting a freaking Dark Souls or Elden Ring boss. I'm not even kidding. These freaking Bogdo joints are just insane. That spawn of Ogdo boss probably took me 3 or 4 hours to complete. Get it. Damn. Shit. Can't dodge that. How am I still getting hit? How did that kill me? Why did that dodge not? Oh my god! Out of the air.
Moving around a lot. All right, that's it for me. We're winning.
He's down. Wait. Oh my god! Wow. Okay. I couldn't recover from that? Nah, fam. Nah, you're done. Nah. Stop playing with me! Stop playing with me! Alas, I was victorious. Of course, me being appeased was gonna defeat this. And after I defeated that, there's obviously not gonna be anything else in the game that's gonna challenge me. Challenge me. Challenge me.
Got him! Got him!
No, God! No, God, please, no! No! Gotcha, bitch!
Let's talk about the bosses in the game. So the bosses are the best thing in the game, being that the combat's the best. Obviously the bosses being the peak of the combat are gonna be the highlight of the game. You actually have to pay attention, learn the patterns, block and counter and all this stuff just to beat the bosses, which is freaking awesome. I was playing on hard difficulty, so of course I had probably a lot more fun than some people did like on normal difficulty. Highly suggest if you want any type of challenge, put it on hard difficulty. It doesn't feel too unfair, even though you do die in like 2 hits sometimes, but you can heal. It is what it is.
I've been waiting for this for 200 years!
They got some really crazy moments in this game, like when Marin unlocks a new ability that she says she learned between the first game and this game.
Do you trust me? Do you trust me?
What?
Do you trust me?
I can't believe this!
Believe it! Well done!
Or when you, spoilers, go to Tanalorr.
They're coming too fast!
But you are faster.
So that double Ogdo fight from earlier was one of the added challenges in the game when you visit a place called Force Tears. They're found hidden randomly throughout the game world and can lead to either combat or platforming challenges, most of which were admittedly pretty good. I even beat that dumb behind double Ogdo challenge eventually.
Oh, got it! Got it!
There is a fair share of side quests, including fights with bandits who are after Cal, of course, the standard fetch quest stuff that nobody really wants to do, but people do anyway. Some stupid side quests involving growing plants that, so far as I can tell, is a complete waste of time. There's also a pretty fun minigame where you can use monsters against one another, like some sort of card strategy game.
Oh, it never stood a chance! Estes has gotta be contemplating his choices after that!
You lose! Good day, sir!
So if you're watching this, you probably already heard of the performance issues that the game suffers on PC. I was playing on PS5, I didn't really have any of those problems. As a matter of fact, I didn't have any problems at all. I didn't have any problems at all. Alright, heavy spoiler time, guys. There's already been spoilers in this review. All my game reviews are always going to have spoilers, so it is what it is, but I'm about to get into heavy stuff. So if you have not played the game and you want to play the game and you care about the story, now's the time to click off after you hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. So, Bode was a traitor. He was apparently an old Jedi Knight. At the very end of the game, he sells out everyone. No! To buy some time for his daughter and him to survive per a pinky swear from the Empire. All hell breaks loose at this point. It seems like they saved the bulk of the budget for the game for the very end, as well as the bulk of the story. I feel like more stuff definitely should have happened along the way instead of just kind of waiting till the end. There's really not that much that happens from the beginning to the middle, or I guess a lot of stuff happens at the beginning, but not the middle. And then even more stuff happens at the end, but I feel like the middle, it kind of dropped the ball.
You know I'm right.
You get to play as Seer, and she smooth beats the hell out of the Empire, basically by herself. Unfortunately, practically everybody still dies because of this idiot Bode. Even Darth Vader himself shows up, and it's time you gotta take him on. Unfortunately, my Nubian queen meets her demise. And it's all that bitch's fault. Of course, Cal's pissed, and you go on your Sasuke Uchiha style revenge sequence to go after Bode and try to fold him and his little girl too. Okay. Maybe not the little girl too, because she knows her daddy crazy. But at least we about to body this fool, right? But yo, this dude is kind of the truth when you get to him. When he's fighting for his little girl, he's fighting harder than I've ever seen anybody fight in my life. He's the final boss of the game, and it sure as hell feels like it. One of the coolest things about the game is Cal being so freaking pissed off about Bode's betrayal that he begins to tap into and embrace the dark side. The only thing that I didn't like is the fact that they force you to use it. I feel like it would have been cool if they would have gave you the option of going one route versus the other, and maybe even rewarded you taking a righteous route versus you taking the evil route.
I know you are in pain, but this is not you! The Empire has taken enough from us! I will not lose you too!
Alright, so I'm going to try to wrap this up here. The game's not bad at all. Matter of fact, it is pretty good. Though I did like the story better in Fallen Order over Jedi Survivor, I do feel like they came up short in some areas of the story. I did find myself not really enjoying the story involving Dagon Gera that much. the story with Bode and the betrayal and all the stuff with Seer and Darth Vader and stuff, that was freaking awesome. But the stuff with Dagon is like, seriously, another rogue Jedi, and technically speaking, Bode is another rogue Jedi. So it's like everybody's a Jedi, everybody's down a rogue. I don't know, something about it just wasn't feeling satisfying to me. I just couldn't find as much joy and as much drive to continue and press forward in the game as I did with the second sister story in Fallen Order. Really, until I got to the end of the game, I didn't really feel that motivated, and I probably would have quit the game if I wasn't doing this review, to be honest with you. The game world, while massive, is a little bit too massive for its own good. If anybody remembers Banjo-Kazooie from the N64 in the sequel Banjo-Tooie. So Banjo-Kazooie was like perfection in terms of the amount, the size of the world and everything they had in it. Banjo-Tooie was like extra large worlds, but less in it, more confusing, and that's how this game felt. It felt like there was more, and sometimes less is more. You know, I just feel like they needed more conciseness in terms of your objectives and what you're doing. I don't really like just kind of wandering around aimlessly as much as some other folks, and it depends on the game. For example, I'm playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, and wandering around in that game feels more fun and fulfilling, at least to me, than it does in a game like Jedi Survivor. A lot of the side quests and stuff just didn't feel like they were that fun to me, so I don't know, I just kind of was ready for the game to be over by the time I got to the end. The combat is freaking awesome though, even though I feel like the best stances were probably like those maybe first two that you got in the dual wielding one. Some people say the blaster, that's kind of good for cheesing people, I guess, since you can shoot them, but I'm kind of mixed on that. And the crossguard one sucks balls. Please, if there's a sequel to this game, please get rid of those freaking Ogdu enemies, Ogdu, whatever the heck they're called, please, never again. The game takes around 20 or so hours to complete if you're just doing the main story, so you got a decent amount of content here and a bunch of side quests and stuff too. I didn't really talk about the soundtrack, but it's pretty good. It's nothing that you're probably gonna remember after you complete the game, but it's a solid soundtrack. I think that a lot of games should go back to memorable soundtracks instead of like this very environmental type of stuff. Like, memorable stuff is good. Like, you want people to remember this stuff the rest of their life. Like, when I was a kid, they don't really do a lot of stuff like that anymore, except like, I don't know, Nintendo and maybe Sonic games and stuff. But a lot of other stuff, they don't really do that, whereas I feel like every game back in the day was striving to do this. So I think that that's something that could perhaps be improved, even though the soundtrack in the game was good.
Is that what troubles you?
I don't know why, if it's just something with me in Star Wars or something, but a lot of the games, I just can't find myself to enjoy that much, except for like the Fallen Order game I really liked. I definitely like that one more than this one. A lot of folks might disagree with me, but I feel like that one, the gameplay to me was a little bit more fun in terms of exploration. The combat's better in Survivor, but exploration's better in the original. Like, Shadows of the Empire on N64 to me was like the best Star Wars game ever. So it's not like I just hate Star Wars games. I like them if I feel like they're good. I just feel like something about these games has something missing. There's something about the fun factor for me that's missing. My score for this game is gonna be about a 7 out of 10. So not a bad game, not a bad score. It's just that I feel like the story suffered in the exploration. I feel like should have been just more concise. Like all the go here, go back, and go. Something about that, it wasn't always fun. You do get to ride some creatures, which makes it a little bit more fun. So you get to ride kind of back and forth on some stuff. And I don't think that was included in the original game. That makes it a little bit more fun, but riding these creatures actually isn't all that great either. It's just something that breaks up the pace a little bit, which is nice, and I'm glad that they thought of that, because, I don't know, maybe a focus group or something said, hey, it's a little boring running around on foot a very, very long distance. In the first game, you didn't really have this problem that much, so I feel like if you gotta find ways to make it work, maybe you shouldn't do it. Maybe keep it a little bit more concise. Stop trying to just expand the world and make it bigger and bigger and bigger. It doesn't always work, you know, at least not for me. Maybe for other people, maybe y'all thought that it was incredible being a bigger open world. Let me know. Am I wrong? Let me know in the comments what you thought. If you enjoyed this video, you know what to do. Thumbs up. These videos take a while to make. Long while. So look, I appreciate y'all liking the video, and if you're new, subscribing if you want to see more. I got more coming. Zelda, as soon as I finish it, I'll be on the review for that. Street Fighter is coming out. I don't know if I'm gonna do a review for a game like that. I might. I know they got like that World Tour mode and stuff, so maybe I'll do a proper review for that. We'll see. Street Fighter comes out, I think, like what, June 2nd? And then open beta is like a couple days away, so might do some videos on that. We'll see. Let me know what y'all want to see. About to wrap up here. We out. Follow me on Twitter, twitter.com/RashadLamar. I got social media everywhere. If you look up Rashad Lamar, you'll find me everywhere. Except maybe Snapchat, you probably won't find me. But everything else, you'll probably find me on. We out, y'all. I appreciate y'all watching. I'll catch y'all next time.